Hey, Chester.
Good morning.
Good morning. We are just about started. Morning, Cheryl.
Hi.
I got here and Judy told me that the email had not gone out, and it certainly had not, so I just sent it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got it. I was just about to go and use my other Connect, but
Well, you sound clear and look good.
just stepped out of the shower. We're in Longmont, Colorado.
All right. I'm going to try and show something off today.
Okay.
Hopefully it works. I had weird. I think I've got a problem with the USB hub.
I got a weird email this morning. I didn't know if do we know a Christian Ludwig?
That name sounds familiar. Let me see if
Well, that's
there's.
what I was thinking. And it says the record for 442XH55. For more details, contact us at, and this thing. And basically, it's a hello user. Thank you for reading Windows Defender again. Defender's cutting edge security technologies.
This is all bullshit. That's all bullshit.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know if it was what's the who's Chris that's in our computer club?
I don't have her name on the
Christian.
top of my. Yeah, but that's not her name.
It's not Ludwig.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's got an attachment and everything, and I did open the one thing, but I just will delete it.
Yeah, that sounds like it's a phishing email, and so yeah, I wouldn't download anything or open any links from it.
Yeah. So I'll see if I can.
And we should have a general policy within ourselves that there would not be unsolicited anything. Like the email needs to be full of personal information and explanation of why you're sending this. It has to be a personal email, otherwise it's going to be considered garbage.
Yeah.
That's where people in the past have gotten into so much trouble with the previous generation of viruses, is they would show up from your mom or from your sister, from your brother, from your boyfriend, and they're not. They're just garbage. Somebody's using your contact list or somebody from your contact list. Hey, this is the San Carlos. I'm sorry, Cheryl. Let me do a quick introduction because I have pressed the button. It is start time. I don't know where anybody is. Chester and Judy and Cheryl are with me. This is the San Carlos Computer Club. I'm Scott from Solutions. We are online right now. We should be streaming successfully on YouTube. We'll find out. Cheryl, you've got a lot of extraneous noise coming through your end. What are you doing? That Bill back there?
Yeah, Bill is here. I was just going to have him say hi and then I'll mute the thing. But anyways, yes, he's cooking breakfast in the little kitchenette behind me. All so right. I will mute and talk to you later. I have one thing to tell you about an email that kept going to junk, and I finally found it.
Well, I was just going to ask if anybody had any topics for today. Cheryl, why don't you just continue with it? The email that continually goes to junk.
I've been trying to book a room in La Vida, Colorado, for Thursday night. And I went through a Facebook page to seek information. So I was getting emails from this owner of these cabins, and she said, I'll send you a quote. And I never got anything. So I just replied to the email, and she keeps telling me, I've sent you the quote, And so this has been going on for 5 days. And then finally this morning, I found a one that came through today. Well, two that came through today. This is your last chance to book, kind of thing. And it was in my junk on my iCloud email. I don't know why it keeps going to junk, but my junk is full of things that I usually have.
So, what email program are you using? Is it your Macintosh Mail?
Well, it's my Apple, just the mail.
Did it give you
app.
the opportunity to mark it as not junk? As you're looking,
I can move it. Once I
Right.
find it in my junk mail, I can move it to the inbox.
Okay.
Right.
But it doesn't really give me, like, I know both my Gmail and my iCloud mail go into this section, this app.
Yeah.
I don't think there is an option to mark it that way. At least I've never seen it. I've always just moved it over into the inbox, and then that usually fixes it.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's the way that Apple does deal with it. I'm going into some junk mail now just to verify that's the case. But yeah,
I also find that with Apple Mail, I can select messages, but I can only move them. They don't come up with an option trash. Like you can't just put things in the trash. And then there's a little folder with an X on it, and I thought that was trash. But maybe it's junk. Maybe I am marking things as junk.
well,
When
You
I
use
fix them-
you use your iCloud account,
well, in
not
this
your
case,
Gmail account.
in this case, it just what matters is you're using Mac Mail versus like the Gmail app or the Microsoft Outlook app. You're using the Apple mail application on your phone. And so each one of these clients has different ways of doing things. And like what you said earlier, Judy, is true. You don't identify it, you don't flag it as not junk mail. You move it to your inbox, and it's to interpret that means this is not junk mail in the future. Whereas if you're using, say, for example, the Gmail app, you'd go into the junk mail or the spam folder, and it would have right at the top a flag that says mark this as not junk. And that would be telling the Gmail program to not filter that, to filter this as regular email, stuff you want in your inbox. But these are features from the email client you're using. And so now, after you've moved it to your inbox, have you had other correspondence with her? Have you had a chance to test and see if it's showing up in junk still?
No, ever since I found it and I replied, and now we're back and we're in the inbox and we're communicating fine.
Yeah, so unfortunately in the Apple world, they it's more nuanced. It's like move it back to the inbox. I know that corresponding with an email will weigh it on whether it's junk mail or not. So just having conversations with that email makes it more legitimate.
I think I've discovered something on my own here. This is a list of the little icons that you use. Do you see the one that's a box with an X on it? And it says right beside it, junk.
Yep.
And I've been using that as my trash can.
Oh.
Because trash didn't come up. And so I think I've been doing it to myself. So if I had,
Yeah, you may be losing important emails if you're sending them to junk instead of your trash can. Because what that's doing is it's preceding the next bit of email coming in, and it's using the logic that you've given it to determine whether those are junk mail.
That's why when I finally come and clean up my email, I send things and I think I'm sending them to trash, send them to junk. So then when those next subscribe things come, they all end up in junk. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So I'm teaching it wrong.
That's right. It's like that old adage, garbage in, garbage out.
Oh, Scott, by the way, I did just get the email. Well, while I was out talking to my contractor, I just got the email about the meeting.
See, you were wrong, Judy. You were right.
No,
No,
it just came through.
I'm just playing with you. When you said it didn't go through, I saw that it didn't go through, so I went ahead and pushed it through. You're the reason it came through.
Good.
So thank you. Well, Chester's here, Bill's here, Cheryl's here, Judy's here. As usual, I have shared a document that has some topics in it, some stuff from last week that we never had a chance. But I thought you guys might get it. Let me see if this is working. See if I have. Your thing. Well, I have the last two. It was just working just seconds ago.
Well, now you're a black screen.
I know. I'm not. I mean that. I know. Yeah.
Well,
I know.
there you are.
I'm not supposed to be. And I know I'm doing it right. But
So
for
let
some
me
reason
just
it's
tell you
decided...
a quick story about my new 2024 M4 iPad Pro.
Okay.
It's everything pretty much moved across, except I just found out that all my photos had to be rechecked with Amazon Prime, all 15,000 of them.
What?
And
Wow.
I don't know. So Amazon went through and checked them all, that they were all backed up again for some reason. But anyway, the other thing that I found out is I called and I was talking to Apple support and I said, I am not getting my notifications in a timely fashion, or some of them I'm not even getting at all. And he went through all the da 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 da. And he said, well, I guess I'm going to have to talk to the whatever they call the next layer up in expertise. And so he comes back and he goes, well, they are aware of it and they are working on an update to the 15 point, whatever it is, 7.1. And they're working on an update on that. But they are aware that there is a problem with your notifications coming through.
Well, that's interesting.
I thought it was very interesting. And I said, well, my tech guy recommends that I would not do that upgrade. He goes, please set your settings to automatic. And I said, absolutely not. And he goes, why not? And I said, because I am advised by my tech guy that I should not install like a .1. I should wait till a .2. And he went, oh, well, that's probably a good idea.
That's good advice
really
too.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. But so I've checked daily for an update, and tomorrow's the day that I have to turn in my old iPad for credit. So other than that issue, which is pretty annoying because, I get it on my phone, and then if I get a notification at all, it can be 15 minutes later on my iPad. We're on the same
it will
network.
finally come in though.
Well, some of them will, but let's see. Hold on a second. I'll be right back. I'm just going to walk into my notes that I have for tomorrow. And of course, the Apple notifications all come through immediately.
Sure.
But my Reuters, CNN, my local newspaper, and the Weather Channel don't.
All those, so those are push notifications from the apps that you have installed.
Well, yeah, but I'm not real sure what's the difference. How do I know it's a push notification?
No, I'm telling you that.
How do I know it is, though? Some of them, you say you have an option to make it a push notification. So I don't know.
Yeah, the apps that you just rattled off are not the style in which you would be pulling those.
Right.
So you could turn them off in the background. You could tell them to stop pulling or stop pushing.
Right.
And so then you would have to go out, open up the app, and ask for a refresh.
So maybe that's my problem. Because if I look at that app, one of them, How about the CNN app? That's pretty. So if I go to my CNN app, I don't know whether I can do it there, to settings. I should have it doing background app refresh. Is that what you're telling me?
If you want it to be able to send you notifications, yeah.
Oh, well, so maybe it's my problem.
Yes.
Cheryl. It could be my problem. So if I go to
Yeah, I
notifications,
caught that.
yeah, and I go to CNN.
If you're not doing a background refresh on those apps, then it doesn't have
I don't have
anything
I
to
don't have
notify you
that
with.
option to I don't have an option to turn that off or anything.
Judy, my
Yes.
dad was a auto mechanic, and he used to say things like to me like, the only thing wrong with your car is the nut holding the wheel. And I don't want Scott to go away from this meeting saying something about the women did it to themselves. So,
All right, I
Oh,
want to take a
shoot.
moment and point out that this is working at the moment. Can you see me? So
Yes.
here I am. This is my iPhone using continuity camera that I have bled into the OBS software to broadcast. And this is a really interesting thing, a choice by Apple. I'm going to rotate my camera. This is me rotating it. You notice how nothing's changing really? It's got a fixed focal point. Here, I'm gonna put my webcam on so you can see what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. See me rotating the. But as I rotate it, this is the continuity camera that's part of the latest. If I rotate it, see that it stays fixed regardless of the orientation.
Part of the latest what?
The latest update to the operating system. If you're running the latest Mac software,
Yes.
Sonoma, and if you are running, I believe I'm still on 17. I don't believe I'm on a 17.5.2, right? I think that.
Or is it 0.1?
Oh, yeah, it might be point. But this is called continuity camera. It's only available if you have an up-to-date Macintosh with an up-to-date iPhone. My iPhone's an 11 running the latest software, and my Macintosh is a Mac Mini running the latest software.
Oh, so you're not talking about on an iPad. This has to be on my MacBook.
Actually, I believe this should work on your iPad as well. The way I read it, your iPad, and to get this mode, what you're supposed to do, and this is what I fought with the last 2 times. I've had it working perfect like I've had now, and then we've sat down to have the meeting and something's blowing up in my face and it hasn't worked. But the way that you get this camera into your Macintosh is that you turn it on in your settings, you make continuity camera setting available in your iPhone. Say you run it, and then you lock the phone in a landscape mode, and it's not very intuitive. The camera becomes a video device. Oh, you also have to be on the same Wi-Fi network.
Okay, so I've got my iPhone.
Yep.
What are we talking about here?
Okay, so I'm gonna turn mine off so I can talk to you through settings, because you need to go into settings.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna have to remember them. So give me a second. I think if I go to the search settings, I can continuity camera under general, under AirPlay and handoff. So if you go into
Really?
if you go to the
Okay.
general settings, Then look at AirPlay and handoff. It's like the third group in setting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then in AirPlay and handoff, it'll have continuity camera.
Right. Mine's clicked.
Yours is on?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know why it would be on by default. It was off by.
Okay, the things that are on are transfer to HomePod, handoff, continuity, and then AirPlay receiver is off.
Okay, so everything is off for me, and I turned continuity camera on when I started playing.
Hmm.
So I don't know what that says about default settings as far as what Apple's setting for you or what you've set for yourself, but I have everything turned off except for continuity.
Hmm.
So now, so now that that is on, this is the part that's not very intuitive. So you lock the phone, you put it in a portrait mode, and then you go to a application that needs a video source.
Hmm.
On my computer, on my Macintosh, I could use photo booth. I think there might be a photo booth version for the iPad there. But what it would do is it would list the camera as another video source.
I've never used Photo Booth, so I have no idea.
No, in fact, I've only used it for stuff like this. It's not it. I mean, it lets you take webcam. This is what it's like.
I don't even have Photo Booth on my iPhone.
Maybe the camera. But the other thing is that I get a notification saying continuity camera is connected.
Hmm.
And on the Macintosh. Right now, I'm not getting it. It's the same experience I had before I started. It's not
Okay.
working. I'm going to lock it again. I'm going to put in portrait mode. Don't see it recognizing.
So you're doing this with the camera, though, is what you're saying.
With the phone.
But the camera on the phone.
Not the app. The app is this continuity. And
Right.
There's nothing on the phone you're supposed to do except make it possible through settings and then put it in a portrait mode locked in the same network. Then it becomes a device that can be added to. I forgot the other thing. You have to be using the same Apple account, which I suspect you are.
Yeah.
You have to be using the same Apple account on the two devices. But then your one device should see the other device as a camera option. And I think there must still be bugs in it, just from my own personal experience. Right now, the last time for me to get it to work, I had to shut off the. I'm going to do this now. I'm going to reboot my phone, and I'm going to boot it back up. And the first thing I'm going to do is try and I'm going to unlock it, then lock it, and then see if I can get continuity.
But my question is, why would you do this?
Because your iPhone has a much better camera than any of your other devices.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And you could also have multiple views too. I mean, if it was appropriate. Like before I turned this off, I could have walked around the house and showed you my house while still maintaining this. If there was a need for that sort of thing. Okay. Unlock. Here I'm on. Is not a feature. Oh, there it goes. It just connected. So this is what my screen looks like on my camera when. And you can disconnect it, pause it, screen. So now this should be ready. I've programmed it into my software. So now this is working. And I was mentioning photo booth. I think I've still got it running here. Let me switch over to that mod. This is a little distracting. This is the photo booth software. And sharing my screen so you can see this menu at the top. And if I go under camera, the name of my iPhone shows up right here as a camera source. I just switched over to it as a camera source. Now, very meta because we're watching the video out of my wireless iPhone into photo booth, which is captured by OBS, which is being broadcasted to you cheerfully by Google Meet. So what I find fascinating is this part right here. If this does not connect correctly, just auto magically, then you don't know what to do to fix it. That's what I've been dealing with. Is when this works successfully, then the screen on your phone looks like this. You are having a relationship with your Macintosh computer. Allows you to camera. But if that screen doesn't appear, if that connection isn't made, there is nothing here that where you can search that out. It just has to happen. And so twice this morning to make it work, I've had to reboot my iPhone, and it automatically. Anyway, I thought you guys would find that fascinating. I also like this, like I'm rotating the camera. I don't even understand what that's all about. Apple has done here. It's really strange to me that it would be able to keep that. It's almost like there's no real processing going on inside the camera. I mean, inside the phone. It's almost like it's this raw video footage going through using the IP standard, the TCP/IP protocol, like raw footage, right from. I just don't understand how that works. I want to know why this does the way. And it changes slight orientation. You can see it oozing. Anyway, new stuff from Apple. I suspect with your new Pro, you could take your camera. You could set your Pro up to be a video editing station where it's getting fed video in real time from.
The other thing is the USB-C connector. When I talked to Apple on that same call, they told me that my current USB-C from my old iPad will work just fine. It doesn't click in quite like the one that comes in the box with the new iPad Pro.
Well,
It works.
That sounds more like a quality Pro.
Right.
Original cable.
Well, it's old. Yeah, it's old. So I've ordered a new cable. It's supposed to come today.
Well, and that
we'll
old
see.
cable, it still charges it, right?
Oh yeah, it just doesn't. The connection isn't as good. So I ordered a new Anchor 10-foot cord because they say it won't be degraded, but we'll see if it is or not.
Great. Well, it's amazing how fast these phones can charge when you have a high watt charger.
Yes.
Cable.
Yes. So this is my iPad, and it does charge very, very quickly. Even while we're now on the call, it's charging pretty quickly, and I'm using it at the same time it's charging. So yeah, so far so good. I have an appointment with the Genius Bar tomorrow at the Apple Store to discuss this problem with not getting notifications correctly. And I just want them to tell me again that they're working on the update. Because I have to go in. I have to go in there anyway to turn in my old one to get my credit. So I just thought, well, I'll just have them tell me again that they're working on it.
Okay.
I'm
That sounds
just
like
a thorn in their side, you
right?
know? Don't sell me a product that you have to work on an update because it's not working correctly.
Well, speaking of updates, what do you guys think of the CrowdStrike outage?
Interesting. I'm glad I wasn't flying
Right? Or needing to fly.
or gone to the hospital or gone to the driver's license bureau or
It's just an impressive amount of disruption by accident.
We met it. We were in Billings, Montana, and we left our hotel and we went to go and fill up at the Costco. And my phone, my Waze was telling me that there were 2 Costcos, and then it said in the information that Costco gas was closed. So we went to the other one and we pull in and there's nobody in the gas. Well, that's because all of their computer systems are down. There's no way that they can get anybody to pay, to log in, to do anything. So that's where we hit the cyber
I
attack.
understand it was the worst internet breakdown ever.
Yeah. Well, and it's made so much more so than just the inconvenience of being down for a little bit, because there is no auto fix for these problems. It requires somebody like me to go physically to your computer, boot it up into safe mode, and recover or restore files that were damaged during CloudStrike's update.
but my whole thing is it only affected Microsoft. So,
It actually only affected Microsoft's most modern architecture.
right.
Things like Windows 8, which nobody's using, Windows 10, Windows 7. It as well as the most recent versions of Windows servers. And CrowdStrike is one of those platforms that is used in those areas of infrastructure. They're normally, most people don't have CrowdStrike installed in their home computer, but there are many corporations to use it to manage large installations of computers, hundreds of computers at a time. So there are IT people all over the place going nuts because they're still having to go on site and restore computers. Microsoft has, I've heard through the grapevine, created a USB fix. So if you do have the technological ability to create your own USB stick or listen to instructions on how to do it, then quite possibly you could go around your office with this stick fixing your computers. But anybody that has any experience working with Microsoft computers knows that as a guarantee is real hit or miss. If you're in an office of a dozen different kinds of computers, you could have a dozen different kinds of problems. I have to say, there's never been a better example of why IT exists than this problem that has been created by accident. It's just unfathomable. On a personal note, it's a little funny for us because we're actually under mandate to move to Microsoft services because of security. And so it gives me a little bit of a chuckle because right now everything we're doing is in Google and nothing was affected. Another that was non-affected, and you've probably heard this news already, I put a link in our document. Southwest Airlines was not affected by it. And the reason is because they run everything on Windows 3.1 or Windows 95.
But Delta is still being affected as
yeah.
of this morning.
Yeah, their booking systems, their reservation systems, the way they schedule pilots, they're all Windows-based systems. Even in the airports, they've used Windows-based kiosk systems for their arrivals and departure screens. It's yeah, it's a and here Southwest Airlines is able to keep scraping by because they never updated their systems. I heard a good quote uh, from a tech pundit talking about this issue, and he says we've become over reliant on unreliable tech. That we know in its nature that this is unreliable stuff, that is not bulletproof, and we've just adopted it into our culture and society so very quickly. Start doing jobs, but it's not. It hasn't been proven through all these different circumstances. People are blaming Microsoft a bit. I think the majority of that is misfounded, maybe not unfounded, but misfounded, because it really is a CrowdStrike issue. Somebody did not test that software appropriately. If this is pushing out that, but Microsoft should probably take some of the fault, since they have designed a operating system where a kernel driver does get damaged by something. There's no recovery built in the start process. That's why these computers have just gone into a tizzy. They're just looping and starting and looping and starting, because the way the foundation of the Windows operating system as it stands is to try again with no change in its practice. No de-escalation of driver that should be used, initiatives that are in the system. Just keep trying the same thing again. That's the reason nobody can get into Windows to fix the problem. And it's exasperated by people that have adopted to using encryption on their computers, which a lot of organizations have. A lot of places like the airlines industry and hospitals are just defaulting into encryption because that should make things more secure, private in those industries. Well, this kind of problem is introduced after you've gotten past encryption. Like you're running the computer, so you've gotten past. So the problem is introduced after you've gotten past the encryption. But then if you can't get the computer on, even going into safe mode becomes difficult, because that you need to satisfy encryption at a local level to get at those changes, to revert them back. So it's become much more painful to recover from if you use BitLocker on your computers. And if you're running Windows 11 or installing Windows 10 for business, BitLocker's turned on by default. You have to tell it to turn it off. And so this could have, if this had been a package like a Norton's or a McAfee's, it could have bit a lot of private people. Because it's CrowdStrike, it bit a lot of services, infrastructure. Anyway, there's some really interesting stuff there about Southwest in that article. Windows 3.1 saves the day. Windows 3.1 is over 30 years old, I think. Yeah, there's something to be said about that. I think this will have people rethinking about embedded services, thinking about operating systems. Somebody was telling me the story of military planes being built in Russia, and how when the West discovered they had been using a hybrid tubes and transistors for their computing, that the reasoning behind it was to be able to survive a EMP blast. Something that silicon is very fragile, knocked out, but tubes are much less so likely to get out by electric. Hey, I'm seeing one of our workers coming up, and she's going to need some instruction. I'm going to let you go for just a moment. I'll be back in just moments. Hello. I am. I'm in a meeting.
Is everyone still on? Cheryl, can you hear me?
Hi there.
Oh, hi. We might as well entertain ourselves.
So we're in Longmont, Colorado tonight. We're just packing up our room, moving down to a different Holiday Inn to go to a Mark Mulligan show tonight.
Nice.
And then we're up to Estes Park. I don't know if you know that part of Colorado.
No, I don't know Colorado.
Jim and Linda Cunningham are camping, so we're going to go
And
and
Yuya
stay
should
at
be
a
right back.
cabin
She
up
just
there
went to drop
tomorrow
off.
night. And then Judy, we're going to be coming down through Colorado Springs on Thursday. Didn't know if you were around Thursday around 1 o'clock, if we could make a coffee date.
Judy on? All right, I just have to show you my new boyfriend.
Who's your new?
New boyfriend.
Oh my goodness. Hello,
His name
you.
is Max.
Max has a lovely bow tie.
Yeah, he's about a year old. We just got him yesterday, and somebody just has really worked well with him, but they picked him up as a stray. He didn't have his chip in. And they've kept him for a period of time waiting to see if anybody will come for him, and he hasn't. So we got him.
He's a wonderful dog, very friendly.
Friendly,
Sounds like
has good manners, very good manners.
he was just very intently listening to you when you said his name.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he knows his name. Anyway, that's my new boyfriend, Max.
Well, may you and Max have many wonderful days.
We will, I'm sure. No surprises yet, anyway. Are you back, Scott?
I am back. I'm back. I was just talking about your dog.
Yeah. You're going to have to do that a lot here soon.
So, did anybody other than, I mean, I don't think anybody's had any effect on their computers. Cheryl, you shared a story about was it the casino that was down? What was down again? But I don't think any of us were actually affected by this outage. Specifically because we weren't traveling. I actually got a couple of phone calls from concerned parents that had Knoll students staying with us, that they might not be able to get them out on flights they're supposed to be out, needing possible accommodation. But none of that actually turned into anything. It seemed to work. I did see a graphic, I passed it on social media, of the planes and what normal air travel looks like over the United States and what it looked like during this outage. And you'd think we'd had 9/11 again. The number of planes that were stopped because of this outage.
It was worldwide.
Yeah.
Wow.
Again, I thought that was a very appropriate way to put it. We've become reliant on unreliable. Over-reliant, unreliable.
A Scott quote.
Not my quote. It was a tech pundit said it. And I thought it was impressive. That's exactly what we're doing. We've got a habit of just, Google has, from the very beginning of creating services for us, has labeled them in beta. They are in testing. This AI stuff that we cast is stuff that is all take with a grain of salt. Disclaimer at the bottom: this information may be inaccurate. Feels like we've just created a tech culture of that. This unstable but usable environment. That's what's happened on scale. Is something broke in a very common way that things break in technology, but we've become so reliant on it. It broke everything. Broke travel, broke health. broke accommodations for. Just very interesting where we are as far as that goes.
It helps us think about the future and what do we do if this happens again and again and again.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, our call is going to. I also found another article I thought you guys might find interesting. I didn't get through all 15 features, mostly because I'm not running Windows 11. I'm not running Windows 11 because I don't have computers that in the latest version of Windows, not because I it. I mean, I do have things against it, but that's not the reason that I don't run it. I don't run it because I don't have the computer to run it. But this, Judy, you want to say something?
I was going to say, doesn't this recent crash tell you why you shouldn't run Windows?
No. No,
Really?
in fact, yeah, no, not at all. In fact,
Yeah, no.
in fact, the Linux community has been making fun of Microsoft forever, and they just had their own CrowdStrike fiasco that nobody's talking about because the majority of people don't have Linux sitting on their desktop. But it shut down background. Say there's a lot of stuff on the internet that's running Linux, and it shut down background stuff. It had a big effect on. I mean, it could happen anywhere. It could happen in the Macintosh world. And I was listening to some guys talking about it this morning. I wasn't aware of this, but when it comes to things like antivirus and junk mail and security, what Macintosh has done is created an API set. So if you're a Norton's or a McAfee, you can write your software to that set, and that would allow them to have the kind of access that they need to do their scanning and create protection for you, without the concern that what has happened with Microsoft in this case. Those are protected kernel drivers that have, and they're what make the computer run. That can't happen in a Macintosh platform. However, the API version of this has its own issues as well. It has problems. I guess what I'm getting at is there is no platform that has figured this out, because they're all running forward without having. It's a constant problem across all platforms. It doesn't call one. I mean, it might be a reason not to use CrowdStrike. They're gonna poor quality control like this, and it does enlighten you to a fundamental property of Windows. Those blue screens of death we haven't seen in a long time, because Microsoft has taken complete control over those drivers. Blue screens of death were something that went out of favor back with Windows XP. When we went upgraded from XP, they went away. They stopped. Microsoft stopped allowing hardware vendors to just install drivers to their operating system. They vet drivers with Microsoft. Microsoft played a much bigger hand in the software being used to drive their operating system. It's gotten much more stable now, and we haven't seen those kinds of problems in releases. Windows 10 and Windows 11, you almost never see those kinds of problems. That's one of the reasons it's such a big surprise. But for this area, for the area of scanning and virus scanning and phishing and all firewalls, they have to allow. Actually, I was listening to somebody talk today that they have to allow access to these protected drivers because of a European Union regulation, so that third parties can get in and do the same job. Microsoft cannot promote their anti stuff over a third party that might. And so I guess you could blame Microsoft for not having a good foundation. Whereas you've been using Windows as long as I have, that's exactly the started from lousy foundation. Everything's built on top of it. It's never been better, but it was always built. It's like an elephant that is standing on an ant, balancing on top of an ant. Never been a great foundation. In this case, it's a design philosophy that apparently should change to avoid this kind of problem. So, I would say CrowdStrike gets 80% of the blame, and Microsoft just fundamentally, because of the way its architecture gets 20% of the blame. They still haven't sorted that. I wanted to point out some of the features that are available in Windows 11 that I didn't realize. They've got voice typing. It's turned on just by default. It's interesting. I think we just lost Judy.
Mhm.
Yeah,
She's switched.
I'd like to hear that because I'm running 11.
So you can check and see if this works, Chester. If you hold the Windows key and press H, it should open up via voice typing. You hold down the Windows key and press H. You should get some voice typing settings. What it was saying is now they've got automatic punctuation. So if you turn that on, it'll just make dictating even easier, because it'll figure out whether you need a comma or period. That come up for you, voice typing?
Well, I haven't tried. I'll wait till we're all done and play around with it a little bit later.
If you got a flashy gaming PC, you can control the lights, the external lights, with settings that are in the software. That's wild. I'm not saying any of these things matter to you or not, but there's a whole list of things here that are unusual, were not in Windows 10. It would be interesting to have somebody with 11 to go. This feature of adding a border to a screenshot, I never really thought that was a thing, but apparently there's enough people that take pictures of their screen. I don't know, maybe they're putting them in news articles. They're right. But apparently now you can flip a switch.
Whoa!
Oh, it sounds like Max found somebody.
Found your wife. Hang on, Max.
I'm gonna mute you, Mom. Oh, you're muted. So yeah, so apparently with an on and off toggle, any of these screenshots can have a decorative border around it, decorative thickness and color of the border, making it a punchier picture.
I'll have to go back and read that article because I hadn't done that, but I sure will.
Yeah, things for searching. I need to get a copy of Windows so I can put this kind of sound. Trackpad, just a bunch of stuff in here that doesn't exist in Windows 10 that might be useful. Notepad with tabs. I don't know if you're a Notepad user. These really feel like some power user stuff. Anyway, it's there. If you got Windows 10, check it out. If you find any of these that are helpful for you, bring them as recommendations to share with the group.
I will.
This is an interesting article talking about how Apple has approved PC emulators on the iOS platform. I know this is in terms of being able to get vintage games on these platforms, but essentially you're going to be able to run older versions of Windows and older versions of Mac Linux on your iDevice. This is fairly interesting. If you could imagine running Windows 95 on your phone, your iPad, maybe there's some old piece of Windows software out there. It's the only reason you keep running Windows. but I believe this will be a hit with mostly people that want to play on devices. This emulator, this UTM, is a virtual machine for the RISC-based chipsets that Apple products use almost across their entire line. I know that if I want to run Windows on my M1 Macintosh, I would be UTM virtual machine, and the version of Windows that I would be running would be built for Apple Silicon or the RISC-based processor. UTM also offers different pieces of software used to help you download and install what operating system that you like to run. UTM would be if you had a reason to run, if you had a new Macintosh and you had reason to run Windows software on it, UTM is what.
That compares to the old way that I when I had when I was using the Apple machine and running Windows, it carved a piece of the hard drive out. So this must be a little different approach.
It is, because those prior ways of using Windows, we had two different ways to use a Mac. We would use a system called Boot Camp.
That's what I used.
Yeah, and I think you were using that on your Mac. You'd start it up under Windows, and it had no Macintosh software running with it.
Right.
The other way to do that in the past was through an emulation layer. You would run a piece of software similar to you were just talking, and it would run in the Macintosh and create this virtual computer that Windows could run inside. There are two different ways to run the Windows computer inside the Macintosh software. You can either allow it, I think of it as like access to the hardware. You're kind of draping it over the hardware that exists. Or you can buffer it into completely fictitious hardware. And so the operating system isn't touching the hardware at all. It's touching software that's behaving like hardware. That's an emulation layer, emulating hardware. So the boot camp was possible because the Macintoshes were based on the same hardware that the Windows computers were based on. When Apple changed to the M1, M2, M3 processors, you lost the ability to run a boot camp environment because the hardware was fundamentally different. And all you were left with was an emulation layer available. And so you can, with UTM now, you can run a version of Windows made for RISC computers, which has gotten pretty good. You guys, we talked a little bit about the Surface lineup, that Microsoft has a new Surface lineup, all based on Qualcomm's latest chips. And these chips are making really fast, low power computers to compete in that space that the Macintosh computer. And so because that's been so successful, there is a version of Windows out there that you can, for lack of better term, drape across the hardware of a Macintosh computer. You can give it access to the hardware and it will run at that level. And the reason that matters is because it makes the whole thing more efficient. An emulation layer in between the hardware slows everything down. Now, because this is new in the Windows world, there isn't a lot of software that is, there's still not a lot of software that's running in that type of software, in that version of Windows for RISC-based processors. And so what Microsoft has done is it's created its own emulation layer inside Windows. Oh, we're about to lose our call. Let me open Meet so that if you like, we can.
Scott, since I don't have that, I need to know what I dial in to get you.
Oh, it's too late. Hold on, Chester. We're waiting for others to join us. Chester, you're the only one with us right now.
If the others don't join, there's no point in taking any more of your time. So we'll give it a few minutes and then maybe call it a day.
Yeah, yeah. How are you doing running on Windows computers? No more Macintoshes in your life.
Well, I'm doing just great. I have a laptop that I have hooked up to a 24-inch, 34-inch TV screen. So I'm in good shape.
It's good. And you're happy with Windows 11?
Yes, so far I like Windows 10 better, but I guess I'm accustomed to 11 by now. So and I don't do much. I not like I used to.
Hey, you found it.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome.
I recently did a membership booklet for the San Carlos Yacht Club, but other than that, I've been doing virtually no projects anymore.
No. Most of my projects happen in the cloud these days, so all I need is a comfortable window to the cloud.
Well, I had such a disastrous experience with one Cloud One or
OneDrive.
OneDrive. I won't fool with it. I put everything. I record everything, back it up on a external hard drive,
Sure.
solid state.
I was actually referring to just production, just the kinds of things that we would use a computer to produce. I don't do on the desktop anymore. I do it out there in cloud space. I do it through a web browser. And so for me, it's about having a comfortable environment around me so that I can get out there on the internet where things are being done. So I actually don't need as much computer as I've needed in the past because so much of it can be done out there now instead of right here. That's what a lot of this AI stuff is trying to do. It's trying to come up with compelling reasons that you would buy more hardware locally, have it in your or in front of your face. I mean, that's really what Apple's trying to sell right now is this idea that you're going to use these concepts of AI. They're not AI. The things that we've been looking at, not really. But marketing has labeled. Some of these are very powerful tools that can be very helpful in a workflow. And Apple is saying they'll be faster and more convenient if they're right next to you, physically located on the whereas if it's more complex or need processing, they'll be shut off cloud. Every developer right now, every hardware and software developer is following this kind of. this idea that you have cases where you're going to want the AI right there in the palm of your hand or right there in front of your face, versus you're going to want so much processing that it's inconceivable that it's going to be right there in your hand. So you're going to push it off to data centers that are out there. We've got Mom in Chester as we've returned to this meeting.
We lose everyone.
Yeah, we've lost Bill and Cheryl. I mean, to be fair, we were having a small meeting to begin with, and so this
Yeah.
might be a sign that we should start cycling this meeting down.
Okay, well, I'll see you next week then.
Okay, Chester, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Bye, Chester.
Well, Mom, it's just you and me. You have any last words you want to add to this meeting? You have any recommendations?
Well, just that for some reason your messages are not coming to me. I'll get a little quick window that says, the club is starting, something like that. But there's no information about how I can punch in to find you.
Wait.
So, but I used to get that all the time.
Well, this morning I had forgotten to send out the morning email. And so
That's what I usually rely on.
Yeah, when Judy got on, she's like, "Hey, I didn't get the email this morning." And like, lo and behold, it didn't get sent out. So at the last minute, I said, it might be the reason we've had such a small meeting today.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Because it was hard to track it down. I mean, since I don't usually do that, I really had to think through and get onto the club website. And finally, I saw the password for getting in. I saw those.
Yeah, the meet code.
Yeah, the codes. So.
Well, I sent it to you through Facebook Messenger. See a link there too.
Oh, all right. I didn't check. I don't think I checked Facebook, but anyway.
All right.
Honey.
Well, you have a good day. I'll talk to you later.
All righty.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. I think your wife is having fun with my dog.
I think you're right.
I can kind of hear her out there.
Love you, Mom. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Well, that was us again doing what we do. I do remote work. I have a business in San Carlos. I work contracts in Phoenix as well. Looking for computer help. I think you ought to get a hold of me. At least ask if I can help you. Scott@internationalcs.net. Liked our club and you're interested in participating, all our information's at scc.org. Anyone that's a tech enthusiast is welcome to join us. We have a loose affiliation with San Carlos, Sonora, Mexico. That's where we started all this. That's where I live. That's where I'm back to Alaska right now. Alaska help breakfast back in San Carlos September. In person from Tequilas starting in. So anyone is welcome to join. If you don't want to participate in the conversation, you just want to see us talk, you can do that at YouTube. I think you can still get to it. YouTube.scclub. And I might still the SCC. Sure enough, it still takes us there. So if you go to YouTube, scclub.org, take you right to our channel. Until next Tuesday, everybody out there in the internet world, check on.